Guys, good Monday morning. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us. We have a Charlottesville, Central Virginia, Commonwealth, country, and worldwide audience on a Monday in June, the 13th of June to be exact. Today, we're presented by Keller Williams Alliance, and yes, Realty Partners. Two names, two businesses, and two families you can absolutely count upon. Judah Wickhauer is our director. Why don't we start with the studio camera? And interestingly, you will notice the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith, in a very different seat.
I'm punishing him. I'm making him see what he puts us through.
Change is something that the distinguished gentleman does not necessarily like.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, but it's the year to embrace change.
That's right.
It's all up in the air.
How you feeling, gentlemen? Good morning.
I'm not comfortable, I must
I know you are. I can tell. I can totally tell.
Well, I must. And it's not mainly where I'm sitting right now, but for those who are in the studio, I'm looking right at the CNBC on the wall TV over here, and not liking all that red coming across the. Yep, I was a little green right there.
So 15-month lows for markets as of 20 minutes ago or so. Why don't we start there? Gentlemen, Quinton, you said before the show started, is anyone surprised?
Well, because we were talking about, we were talking about this months ago. Well, of course, because everybody saw it coming. And this is not hugely astonishing with everything that's happening in the world and how we've worked through the economy the last 2 years. I don't know that it's a big surprise. I am really interested in Celsius freezing transfers and withdrawals and how that has affected other crypto markets, because I just find crypto something I can't wrap my head around, maybe because I'm just too old.
Ooh, Quinton Beckham is a crypto fan.
I want government-backed money.
Well, I don't think you are a fan of crypto.
I am not a fan of crypto.
Not a fan of crypto.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not a fan of crypto, although I have a buck of several of them that I bought years ago just to see what would happen.
Literally $1.
Literally $1 is what I've spent on it. They've all made money because I bought it a long time ago when $1.
Well, that's what I said. If you're patient long enough, it'll come up. So this is Monday morning market monitor. So we kind of want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the market. Quinton has said something prior to. This mic is not suited for left-handers, so I'm a little struggling with my left hand. But what I normally take a look at is a week over week, a month over month. Let's see what's going on. So actually, the last 7 days in the car footprint, we had 105 units come on the market. 105 went pending. So we don't really see too many pars coming up. Same week, a month ago, it was 119 new, 140. I think the thing that really we've been talking about for some time that I've been watching closely is the price changes. And we had about a 50% uptick in price changes. A month ago, it was 44. Actually, it's a little bit plus 50%. Right now, it's 66. And if you take a little bit of a deeper dive into the 66 and that 44 back a month ago, the positive sides were the new construction. In other words, there was an uptick in price changes, but by and far, most of them are reduction in prices. So I thought I'd kick off a little bit with that and see what Mr. Beckham has to share with his infinite wisdom.
Well, I think there's two sides to this coin. Part of why my voice sounds how it sounds is I spent the last 3 days of last week in Virginia Beach. We had a Keller Williams event for all of the offices in Virginia and West Virginia. Had about 250 people there, went through a lot of this stuff. Yours truly got to help MC some of it, which was a lot of fun for me. I'm not sure if anybody else liked it, but it was fun. And we had multiple panelists on that have been agents since the time of the great unpleasantness and before, as well as a room full of people where 80% of the folks had not ever experienced that. They've only lived in the market that has occurred since. And so I think there's two sides to this coin. If you're a real estate agent and you happen to be watching, although most real estate agents are not up and watching something at this hour on a Monday morning, if you happen to be watching, just know that even in like the depths of the post-crash market, there were still 4.3 million homes that sold.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity to be in that bar. Your world does not have to come to an end. You do have to develop some different skill sets. If you're a buyer or a seller, you want to start adjusting to the new market and you want to start looking ahead. We're seeing a lot of these price changes because people are still pricing in the market that was 90 days and 120 days ago instead of the market that is
That's what
today.
the 66 is
That's
all
what that
about.
66 is.
How many agents in cars and car?
Let's call it 1,200.
Of the 1,200 agents in car, how many do you think have seen a recession?
Ooh, great question.
I would wager it somewhere in the 20 to 25% range.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because the mean age is still pretty high.
50-something, right? 50,
I don't know, how old are you?
102.
Yeah.
So you're saying 300 of the 1,200 have seen a recession?
102, much like the bourbon, proof of the bourbon.
Yeah, we got a bottle of Buffalo Trace thanks to Woody Fincham.
There's nothing better than when a bottle of bourbon shows up on your front porch.
I just don't understand how you got a bottle of bourbon from him before I did. So
Yeah.
Woody and I are going to have a
Woody's
chat
watching.
about that.
You can ask him about it. So you're
I
saying
don't know, something about being a little bit more awesome. I may be wrong a little bit about
300 of the 1,200 have been through a recession in car.
Yeah.
Have been through the market crash.
2008, 2009 through 2010.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, we talk about this all the time, and, we were talking off air before we came on, what are we going to talk about today other than what we've always been talking about, right? On the market is shifting, and, we're titling these series of shows, Oh Shift, right? And the reality of it is, it's not going. This shifting is not going to. I think is not going to be as bad as it was during a time of great unpleasantness. There's a stat here somewhere I have in here about the number of foreclosures back in 2010. It was somewhere around 3 million, right? So that's a huge number, and I think
It's a lot.
Last month, it's going to be year to date as of last month. So the first quarter, I apologize on that. There was only like 50,000. So that's a huge difference on that. And people were doing that, and I'm curious what Woody has to say about it. Is he starting to see foreclosure requests come up and do that? But, that was a whole different world. I mean, folks had whole foreclosure departments and short sale departments, which kind of went away a little bit.
Woody says the bottle of bourbon is on the way literally today to Quinton Beckham. Literally just put that
Oh, Woody, you really didn't have to do that.
QB, it's on
But he'll
the
take
way.
I won't turn it down.
Quinton Beckham is a bourbon aficionado. The scuttlebutt around bars and restaurants in Charlottesville is he likes a boozy bourbon as opposed to a sweet bourbon. Is that about right, Quinton Beckham?
You make me sound like something.
No, like you support
that is
local
correct.
businesses.
That is correct.
You
I would
support
prefer the
local
boozier
businesses.
bourbons as opposed to the sweeter ones.
I don't know. We went to Tavola on Friday night, Yon and I. And
Is
they
it
were saying-
Tavola or Tavola?
Yes.
Is that it's all of the above?
It's
Yes.
all of the above.
It's all of the above.
It depends on how
Like the Ravana and the Rivana.
Understood.
Or
Rio
Stanton
and
and
Rio.
Staunton.
Rio and Rio.
Tavola. My Italian friends call it Tavola, so that's what I'll stick
Okay,
with.
okay.
It's Italian for table.
Okay.
But I may be pronouncing that incorrectly. But I will tell you, when we went there, some of the bartenders were going, "Where's Quinton been?" So you've been.
They send me notes when I'm way
You've
too
been-
long.
you've
They
been-
inquire about
you've
my
been-
health and well-being.
You've been missed. So
Fincham says there's an uptick, not massive yet, but there's some coming per FNMA.
And of course there are. And we would expect there are some because there's been a lot of mortgage deferment. There has been a lot of people's personal circumstances change. And so, of course, there's going to be some. But I think the percentages have been so low, what you're seeing is a recorrecting to what is a more, I hate to say any amount of foreclosure is normal, but a certain amount of foreclosures is normal. So you're going to see some of that recorrect.
If not, and you hate to say this, but it's just the nature of the thing. Maybe not normal, normal, maybe even healthy. Maybe even healthy for the market at times. Certainly opens up some stock of the word we're not supposed to utilize on
Inventory.
this show. Places to live.
Places
to live in.
people just live to live.
Yeah, places to live in.
Live in.
So what are you seeing with the markets in June here, Keith Smith, with real estate?
Yeah, so I think it was funny in preparing for today and Wednesday's show. I was I was kind of looking back at some of our old shows that we've done back in the tail end of last year, and we've kind of called it that, I think inflation was going to impact this a little bit. I've been doing a lot of reading and listening to other podcasts on the subject. Interest rates are going to continue to climb. I mean, if we're looking at this screen right here, it's pretty clear that's what's going to happen. I just think you're going to get more of a balanced market. Last time I think Quinton and I were here, we had a little toy to play with, and we got into trouble and
You had a scale.
got a scale on that. So I think you're going
From
to
the toy store.
We're going to see a little bit of a balance going on. But we've been saying this for months now. And I will tell you, and I might get kicked under the table here, and definitively Yona might chime in and yell at me a little bit. The reason I know it's shifting is we had a transaction, and I won't give the details. I can give a little bit of background, but I can't give the where and more specifics on it. But we just went through last weekend our first townhome in the city of Charlottesville, under $400,000, no multiple bid situation, and we had seller financing contingency. In other words, the seller was paying for a portion of the buyer's closing costs. I can't remember the last time that came up, and that's in the city of Charlottesville. So I think the market is shifting. I think it's already shifted, and I think we'll go ahead and kind of have to reset. Realtors, real estate professionals, everybody in the food chain is going to have to start upping their game a little bit, and start bringing back some skills that we may have used in the time of great unpleasantness.
For example,
up until
like
now.
what? How do they up their game?
Well, I think it's communication to me is the key in education. We talked about this on Friday. And on Friday, I think, particularly with the new construction folks, what was, what works well for them, right? And what works well for the buyer and the communication back and forth. But it's a lot of it is old school stuff, like open houses, right? We just recently did a couple of open houses, and there was just a ton of people in it, and how to communicate with the client, and how to hold an open house, right? We haven't done that for quite some time on that end of it. So it's really just the basic skill sets, and each agent or each market has their own little special skill sets that they have to bring to the table.
Quinton, what are your thoughts? You agree with that?
I think that one, chaos is a ladder, and two, I think you have to view things either by their obstacles or their opportunities, and this is applicable no matter who you are. And things are definitely changing. If I think of our local market, we talk a lot about pendings versus new to the market, but if you're talking about new versus sold, those numbers are almost equal. And he could probably glance at that and tell me exactly, but they're very, very close to being equal week over week after week.
So to put a number to it, a month ago, same week was 108 and 111, so you're spot on.
Yeah, so very, very close. Meaning by and large, every house that comes on the market sells, and it sells in a reasonable amount of time. I think where we're going to find the trick in Charlottesville and Albemarle, and out a little bit as it sort of waves out, is that we live in an expensive part of the country and an expensive part of the state. And the cost of living here that you're seeing averages in the news, it's a little bit higher. So our total increase for Charlottesville and Albemarle is somewhere around 13.6% because housing takes such a big chunk of that. And it's probably underestimated a little bit. A lot of the CPI includes what they call an owner's cost of rent. And that is underestimated based on the current housing prices. So it's probably even a little bit higher here locally. And so I think we're going to feel that a lot in terms of our affordable housing desires and the housing affordability.
Camille Anderson, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, Camille.
Comments coming in, texts and DMs and on Twitter, which we will get to, including someone asking for Quinton's bourbon recommendations from Bobby Smith. So we'll save that in a matter of moments. How do we see, first off, are all price points shifting, as Keith has put it? Are all types of housing and all price points in all jurisdictions having a change or experiencing an O shift right now?
So yes and no,
Okay.
or maybe yes, maybe no. Yes,
Okay.
as we coined it. So I'm looking at the particular price change sheet because I printed it out just to kind of figure it out where we're at. As I said earlier, the new constructions are ticking up. Everything else is kind of adjusting a little bit down.
So new construction ticking up, that's a reflection, obviously, of labor and of
Cost of
inflation.
materials
Yeah,
and
cost of
inflation.
goods.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking out of 66 units in the last week that went ahead and went down. Again, everything that went up was new construction. Everything else kind of went down, and they were all. And I didn't get a chance to break out the percentages of it, but all were, a few percentage points one way or the other. And I think to Quinton's point, I think what's going on here, and this is, maybe the coffee kicking in, but. After 3.5 decades of doing this, what generally happens, I find in situations, in O-shift situations, the buyers and the sellers, and we've talked about this before, haven't quite caught up with the shift, right? So sellers are kind of still thinking that their house
It's a COVID market, pandemic market.
well, they're still thinking 2 or 3 months behind, right? Buyers are starting, and and I were talking about this morning. We got a couple of buyers that are like, just maybe getting a little too aggressive, right? So we're right in this middle kind of sweet spot in the middle that we're not going to, and the difficult thing for folks in our business is trying to manage those expectations one way or the other. But everything I'm looking at is a few percentage points down. The reality of it is, though, the sales price, and I don't have each jurisdiction with us, are going up. So the sold sales price are going up. What's happening is people are going in just a little too strong, a little bit. It's sitting on the market for 1 week, 2 weeks. I can't believe I've been saying this. That's like long in the tooth is 2 weeks, and are starting to adjust it a little bit backwards.
$5 a gallon gas today, Quinton, on the way in. I know that doesn't impact the EV, and he's an EV expert over there. But how about $5 a gallon with the market and how it could impact real estate?
Gasoline impacts everything. When you think about basic fuel costs, they impact everything, and a lot of that has to do with how we transfer goods around and food and getting from place to place. So gasoline affects everything. It's also one of those items that, much like groceries, no matter who you are, you need it.
So I'm actually working on some stats for Wednesday's show with Scott Morris, right? And what I wanted him to do was to take a look at what rents are going nowadays, which depending on the jurisdictions is running anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500. I mean, it's way up there on rents. So if I end up having to rent a home 5 miles, 50 minutes, 1 hour drive away, and I end up buying a home a little bit closer, with saving at $5 a gallon, how much gas can I save? I've been thinking about this $5 for a while, and I've been thinking about this 8.6% interest. And actually, I didn't have inflation. Thank you. I didn't have everything, but if I had dollars on me, I'd have $10 out right now. And if I had $10, let's just round it up to 10% inflation. Well, that $10 is only now worth $9, right? That $5 a gallon of gas is really worth. You're really spending about $5.80 for it, right? Because your $5, $5.40, excuse me. That $5 isn't buying the same $5 it was. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in my little brain,
I think you might be double counting.
Yeah,
but
I think you are.
No. I'm not counting I'm just putting the fact that I lost that. But if my dollar isn't worth the same amount of money as it was a couple of months ago, I'm paying more for everything right now. And the only reason I know that is every time my wife and I go home to Europe, to home place, the euro seems to jump a little bit, so we're already paying on top of everything. So that's kind of where my brain probably went off track a little bit.
do you know why Europe jumps?
This is a joke, I'm sure.
No.
Why does it jump?
Because whenever things get
'Cause
bad
Keith
like
Smith
this,
is going?
investors move foreign money into U.S. money because we are like the Lannisters and we
That's
pay our
exactly
debts. And so the dollar gets stronger
Sure.
whenever you have a hit to the world economy because a lot of money gets moved there.
I guess
Forbes reported lowest mortgage application in 10 years last week. Kevin Yancey's comment. He's watching from Smith Mountain Lake.
Oh,
that
good for
comment's
Kevin.
also come in via Twitter from Stacy, who has said, "Get the panel's take on the lowest mortgage demand last week in a long time."
Well, that's reflected in the the pendings, right? The pendings a month ago was 140, and now it's 105. It's just the higher mortgage rates are just slowing down the number of buyers in it. And when we had the little toy to play with, that's what we were predicting, the little balance toy, that interest rates will come up, the buyer pool will get a little bit less. But what I didn't project, and I may be wrong on this, and Mr. Beckham is thinking for sure, I didn't expect the inventory to drop that much. The number of homes on the market are not far less, but they are somewhat less than they were a month ago. They're about, almost 20 units round numbers, less than they were a month ago.
So I want to back up to a few things, and let's go backwards. One, mortgage applications are down to the lowest they've been. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have enough buyers for the home that goes on the market, because the number of buyers has been so excessive for all the inventory we've had in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's the lowest it's been in 10 years, and I don't know that that means anything for the person that's putting their home on the market. As you look at the different price points and how prices have accelerated over the last 6 months, the higher the price, the greater the purchase price over list. So if you were selling a home that was $400,000 or less, on average, the list to purchase price was 100% even. You go 4 to 8, that's somewhere in the 2 to 3% range. You go 800 and above, that gets up to almost 105%. So the biggest gains in housing appreciation in terms of what people are willing to pay are at the higher ends of the spectrum. This means as we move forward, it's the folks at the highest ends of the spectrums that are going to have to rein back their expectations. So I think those are important things for sellers to know and agents to be able to communicate properly with good data. I expect mortgage applications to come down, in part because you have a lot of buyers that have been in the market for forever, and when they recast their application, because they're recasting it for the new interest rates and inflation, you don't get a brand new mortgage application. If you apply and you sit and you recheck your mortgage 4 times, you only count once in those statistics. Yeah. And we have such a huge inventory of buyers still in comparison to what's in the market. I would expect those to come down and to come down dramatically. So that's not a huge surprise to me. And as far as inventory, I do feel like, one, we have a lot of people that have just redone everything and they're sitting still because they just did it in the last 2 years. 2, even folks that were contemplating it, they're waiting to see what's going to happen. They're experiencing their new cost of living and deciding how it's going to work. And I think a lot of times, although it would be nice to be able to, you mentioned earlier, maybe I'll live a little bit closer and save on gas. Yeah, I don't know that that's usually how most people think of buying a home, although it's certainly something we consider.
That was the point I was hoping to make on Wednesday, because it's really not, that's the automatic, oh my God. I mean, it's costing almost $100 to fill up my Subaru now, right? And
that's gotta hurt.
I know. Wise ass. He's rubbing it
I know, I see that. Quinton Beckham has an electric vehicle. Smart man over there. Smart man when it's $5 a gallon gas.
Lucky. Let's not suggest I bought this with any idea that gas was going to be an
Well,
issue.
you knew where the market was going.
Plus, I think you bought it because it was a little sexy.
You may not have known that gas was going to get this expensive.
I wanted
a
a fun car that accelerated quickly and had a lot of tech, and that's why I bought an electric vehicle. So now I'm taking a decision made for one reason, and I'm harping on it like I made it for another.
How about this comment? Rising rates and percentage over appraisal is again removing buyers from the pool. That comment just came in the mix.
Absolutely. Although I think one of those is going to start to lessen up.
Which one would that be?
That would be the offers over list price.
Yeah, 100%.
We're seeing a lot of price, what do they call it? Price improvement. Price reductions. We're starting to see those come through more and more often.
I've been meaning to ask you, which of those 2 words you prefer? Yon and I have we're debating that.
Between price reduction or price improvement?
and I'm going
Or new price.
and I'm going to continue to resist getting in the middle of your marital disagreements. So I'm open to a variety of things that are not misleading, and I think adjectives. There's a lot of them. We shouldn't just use one. So
So he's a primary suite guy as well.
Primary suite.
He's a primary suite guy.
You know, how did we do this? We were talking about fun stuff, and you guys want to go into this.
Okay, go
instead.
back to the fun stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
Go back to
Does
the
that
fun
mean
stuff.
the other suite is a secondary suite?
You said
I don't know. I couldn't figure that one out.
You
for
said
the life of me.
percentage offers over appraisal will start to
And you're starting
reduce.
to see appraisals force people back too. We've had multiple appraisals, not a huge percentage, but we've had multiples that have come in a little bit lower than what the contract price was. So the market is shifting, and I think for people that need to continue to move, just be really aware of where we're at today, because whatever you figured out 3 months ago is probably not true anymore. And if you're a buyer, whatever your pre-approval was in January is definitely not true anymore, because everything has changed really dramatically since then.
How about how far are you going to see rates go? How often do you get this question? During the pandemic, it was, what's the quality of the internet at this particular listing? Now is it, how high are rates going to go? Is that the number one question you're getting?
I'll let you answer that. I might have a different
Most armchair economists will tell you that until interest rates exceed the inflation rate, they're not going to start going down.
Yeah.
So you either need inflation to start dropping till it meets interest, or interest is going to keep going up until it hits and surpasses inflation. And until one of those two things happen, there you are.
That's the problem, is Powell and the Fed are trying not to shock the economy by raising rates too quickly. But if they continue this very slow climb, it's just going to be death by 20,000 cuts. And that's what's happening right now.
So they've just flat out, look, what causes, what's inflation? Inflation is too much money chasing too few goods, right? Too good goods and services. In my personal opinion, monetary policy and government policy has probably caused this more than anything, but that's just my personal opinion on that end of it. But the Fed is generally slow to respond to this stuff. On the other hand, as Quinton has said, the only way you can get it, I mean, this is a la 19, you lived through the late 70s, so did I, and, I remember.
It's true.
I remember, what happened was in the 70s caused the 80s to come along, and interest rates were back up in double-digit spheres, and, but people were still selling homes, right? I bought a home in that period of time.
Markets will continue.
Yeah.
Markets will continue. And so I do think monetary policy is almost a euphemism, because it's like trying to, I don't know, there's no crystal ball for that. Nobody would have guessed that real estate would have done what it did in the pandemic. And there was no way to adjust policy around it to change it or stop it. And in the end, although we're not truly a super free market, we're a very free market. And the free market will determine what happens next, whether we like it or not.
75 basis points increase on the horizon.
Oh,
Rates,
I agree with that.
well, I mean, that's what they're talking. Rates are going to go up. We should be flirting with 6 here very, very soon. That's a question for Scott on Wednesday.
Yeah.
As rates go up, we understand that the buyer pool gets somewhat depleted. Certainly as prices of those houses go up, the buyer pool gets depleted. But both gentlemen are saying the buyer pool is there. Both are saying on the show that there's still ample buyers out there for when a well-priced home goes on the market.
So real estate is always 5 things. We've been talking about this forever: location, price, features, conditions, and the last one that I've added is timing. Right? What's the timing? So the location right now, let's say 30, 60, 90 days ago, it didn't matter where. If it was within some reasonable distance, it was selling. So you're going to start getting into these micro locations, and that's where Woody Fincham and his folks at the appraisal, that's what they're going to be working on, trying to figure out that. That's where we work on with our CMAs to try to help people do that. But as you guys were talking, I was just taking a look at the sold in the last 7 days, and I just wanted to flip through the 111. I printed all 111 out. So the average is 10 days on market, the median is 5 days. I only found one home out of 111 that is sold, that these are units that closed, that actually went over 60 days. and that was in Hunters Lake out in Fluvanna County. Everything else is in single digits, a few double digits, a couple of 12s and 14s in there, but there was only one home out of 111 that was on the market for 60 days. And depending on who you talk to, right, I happen to think in our marketplace, when we start getting between 40 to 60 days on market, we have made this shift, right? Over from a seller's market to a buyer's market. I was just curious on it, how you see
I think
that.
we're a long ways from an actual buyer's market,
I agree with that.
but we are on our way to a cooler and calmer market.
And that's a good thing, right?
Ray Cadell says it feels very different out here.
It does feel very different.
Explain that.
Explain what you mean by that, Ray Cadell.
Please.
I would imagine Ray Cadell is talking about the balance from seller to buyer's market, maybe a slow transition, maybe not an even balance, but balancing or heading that way.
Well,
I would also think that Ray is talking about how buyers now have a little bit of leverage, a little bit more of a peak for negotiation. We're hearing from friends and neighbors and folks we do business with that contingencies are coming back.
Yeah.
We're seeing contingencies coming
Oh,
back.
by the way, on that one deal, it was a full normal home inspection, right? No, for informational purposes only, a straight up,
No more complimentary seller possession.
no more complimentary.
Less panic, less frustration.
Yeah.
Complimentary seller possession, I was told not to go down that road ever again.
Yes, that's true.
I was
I should
told
have
never
even,
to
I
go
should not
down.
have even brought it up.
I didn't hear that. I
But-
didn't hear that.
Remember,
If you
there's
keep this up, I'm taking that chair back.
there's only three things that really control the real estate market. One is government regulation, and most of us can't do anything about that, so let's set that aside. The other one is need and confidence.
Correct.
So confidence is taking right now because everybody's looking at all of the red and they're hearing about groceries getting more expensive and they're going to gas pumps, and confidence is tanking, but there's still need. And there's still going to be individual moments of confidence, somebody that got a raise, the person that graduated and now
Divorce.
they're actually, well, that's need.
Okay.
It's not a want.
That's need, not confidence. The reason we had this big rush in the pandemic is there was a confluence of confidence and need. I can sell my house for top dollar, and I want to move from the 1,200 square foot place in the big city to the country for the same price or less, where I have more space and I don't have to look at my family so close around me all the time, so long as it's got internet. And so you had a confluence of all these things happen at once with government policy that was creating a lot of savings, and we saw this huge rush. So government policy is backing off, confidence is going down, and you're still going to have moments of need and moments of individual confidence. And so we're going to see all of these things sort of moderate the insanity that has been the real estate market for the last 2.5 years.
Ray Cadell watching the program. He's on a way to a home inspection right now at his listing. Christopher Eagle said that listing you mentioned was mine in Troy. We had technical difficulties to get to closing, so we
Hey, Chris.
became the outlier for Keith's current data point.
There you go. Thank you,
That's
Christopher.
Christopher.
I know that when I read it, but I just didn't want to say it. So, but yeah, so if you take that outlier out, the next highest one is in the 40s, right? So to Quinton's point, and I think one of the things that, Ray is maybe talking about, and he's driving, so he can't respond, the housing affordability, and as one of the things I love about this spot, I can look at some data where you guys are chatting. I was just looking at what's active and seeing what housing affordability is out there, right? What's under 300,000, and man,
Housing affordability is going to get way worse in a recession.
It's already getting way worse on that end of it. There's only a handful that are under 300,000. I've got full spreadsheets here. I didn't break it out in great detail. If I know Ray at all, I think that's part of his frustration is, yes, maybe we're switching to a buyer's market, right? But
For what buyers?
that's exactly right.
Yeah, for
Well, wealthy buyers.
For what buyers?
That's
For rich
exactly right.
buyers.
And I think, I don't think we're switching. The needle is moving back towards the middle. It's less over to sellers.
Balancing.
It's still a seller's market.
Yeah.
But you need this velocity to slow down.
Oh.
If you have one of those little twisty nozzles on your hose because
Twisty nozzles, huh?
twisty nozzles.
Twisty nozzles.
For people that take care of their own yards and wash their own
Twisty- so it's
cars.
a
I've
twist-
seen it
a
happen. I
twisty
know
nozzle
people do it.
Versus the handled nozzle.
As you keep getting it, increasing the velocity and making a stronger spray, the next turn is off. And real estate's the same way.
Yeah.
We're just dialing back on some of this. You're going to have a little better flow and throughput. A lot of what has kept sellers out of the market is the fear of the competition on the other end. As you start to see these days on market expand to more reasonable timeframes for people that are moving, as you start to see some of this horrible competition come down, you've got a better opportunity for people that want to move but stay in their same neighborhood and have a good reason to move and an individual reason for confidence, maybe a raise. Maybe they were in sales and now they're the general manager. They're going to be able to enter the market with a degree of confidence that the rest don't have, and that'll overcome some of the issues with rates.
What do you think, Keith?
So I'm going to ask a question. So in this shifting market, right? Jerry asked me, what skills do you think real estate agents, realtors should be sharpening today for tomorrow?
Well, one, if you're working with buyers, you're going to have to change your whole concept of how you're negotiating that, because it's no longer walking forward to make whatever sacrifice at the altar of the sellers need in order to get through the door. So we're going to see some of that back off, and you're going to have to know when that is, because it's not everywhere yet. This is still what we might call
That's what
frothy.
that whole location.
That's
thing
the
is.
location, and really knowing on a hyper-local level what's the market you're dealing with and what are those sellers' needs, so that you're negotiating that properly.
What did you teach? I saw on your Facebook or on the Keller Williams Facebook that you were leading some seminars for KWA. What was the
I
material?
emceed, I didn't lead.
Okay. What was the topic matter of some of those sessions? And what was the level of confidence for the agents and level of, I don't want to use the word fear, but uncertainty for some of the agents?
I don't know that it was amazingly high, because we have an entire company that's international that focuses on how to meet clients' needs no matter where the market is. Because the point is, we all have to move. There are many people that want to own homes, and a lot of that really is dependent a lot of your skill set just needs to be know how to navigate the rapids that you're facing. And it doesn't matter what market we're in. We sold just as many houses at 14 and 15% interest as we did when it was 5% interest. And so there's always these needs, and it's our job to meet the need.
Woody Fincham for Quinton and Keith. We are getting more calls from agents to do pre-listing reports. Some sellers are very aggressive in how they want to price a listing. Most have been in the higher end markets.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes they need more than one person's opinion to help give them the proper window.
Thoughts, Keith?
Yeah, so I think in order to do well going forward, you have to get back to the basics. And the question becomes, what is the basics? And the basics are a little bit different for everybody else, right? But one of the basics is, and we started off, what I always refer to as the 5, location, price, features, conditions, and timing. You've really, if you want to be successful in this marketplace, you're going to know you need to know your local market. You need to know your stats. You need to know your data. You're going to need to know how to do it. And the other key thing is, and we talked about this on Friday, we don't really. When somebody says we're salespeople, I kind of take a little offense to that. At the end of the day, we're really educational folks, and what we're trying to do is educate folks on what the current market is doing at this given time. And it's really about how you earn the skills or learn the skills to communicate what's going on to something in some way that particular individual understands it. I know that's a really high level, but it's really that simple. You have to be able to communicate what's going on in the marketplace and have the confidence and have the passion to say, I'm going to help Quinton get what he needs to get, where he needs to go.
So a lot of what we talked about at the conference was geared towards leadership and folks that are either in a position like mine or Nikki's or Amanda or Donna or any of the many staff people, as well as agents that own teams. In our group, we've got the Savage team, we've got the Persinger group, Beckham team. We
Realty
have a
partners.
lot of Realty partners.
Love those
and,
guys.
And
love
when we
them.
talk about how do you work with agents that work for you and that are new and that you're working with, there's a lot of coaching that goes on, and we have to remember to coach the whole person. Because it's not just important what their numbers are, it's important that they're finding ways to have family time. It's important that they've set some personal goals and that they have a personal budget so that they are running their life like a business. And this translates into how you work with clients. Yes, we have a percentage of time where we're salespeople, but it's a very small percentage. And we have to work with their whole life. No normal family. Yes, there's investors and commercial, and there's some other stuff out there. But in the typical family that we're meeting with, there's a lot more into selling the house and moving, a lot more that has brought them to that table than just the price and the interest rate. And so you really want to work with the whole picture, the whole client and their family, and really know what do they need, what's super important to them. We know money is always an issue, so let's just agree that's an issue and set it aside. What are the next 5 things?
This comment's a good one, and this is a challenging topic here. This is from Jennifer. She says, will we see a new makeup or dynamic of realtors in the area as some start to age out or choose retirement because of the market we're heading into? And will we see a new dynamic of younger realtors navigating this uncertain market?
Which Jennifer is this?
This is Jennifer
Hi, Jennifer.
Christoph, watching the program right now. Jennifer, where are you watching the show? There's no place of residence. When I hover over your name in the comment section, I would love to know where you're watching. And Jennifer, follow-up question. I would love to know if you're in the real estate business as well, please.
I think in terms of seeing lots of younger new agents enter in, if you don't think you've seen that in the last 3 years, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
Because we've had a huge influx of younger, dual career, stay-at-home parents that have entered real estate as a way to help prop up the household income in a rising market. So we've really seen a lot of that adjustment now. Every year we talk about the mean age of a realtor, and the real estate industry as a whole is pretty much old and white. I don't know any other way to say it. All of our demographics,
I'd say
if you
that's
look at
fair.
them.
Yeah.
And although that mean age is coming down, it's not coming down to what you would think of as a median. And so that's still sort of in a state of flux. I do think you will see invariably as markets shift, people keep up and people don't, and it's across the whole board. And this works in terms of service industry staff as we've moved through the pandemic. Every industry has its challenge. And if you look at how people survive as industries change, if you worked in, I don't know, let's suppose some sort of coal refinement, and you wanted to have employment for another 20 years, you learned how to do solar, or you learned how to work in some other form of the energy industry. Real estate's been like that for 35 years. So what you'll see as we move forward, and what I hope you see more and more of, and what I would like to see more and more of,
Diversity.
is diversity and better educated agents that are bringing more to the table every year than they did the year before.
I think that will happen because of technology, Quinton, and I think it will also happen because of the resources that are readily available. And I also think that'll happen because there's this massive career shift movement that's happening. And being straightforward, the barrier of entry for the real estate career is not particularly steep.
But to do well is pretty high.
Well is high. To get in
the barrier
is
of
not steep.
continuance is pretty high, and not all of that is based on your skill set.
Yeah.
Although a lot of it is. I think there's lots of opportunity for positive change in our industry, and some of that based on what we're trying to do as associations, locally, state, and at the national level, as well as what the market is going to push realtors and real estate agents to do.
John
and how they
Blair,
perform.
Stanton, welcome to the program. Keith, your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah. So again, I love this seat here. This is kind of new for me. I'm enjoying it. So it's interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and ask Carr to find out in the time of great unpleasantness how many real estate agents we had during that time of block versus now. That would be an interesting, see if they have some sort of stat on that to share. But as you guys were talking, either our brokerages or the Keller Williams Alliance brokerages, or other brokerages, I've been getting phone calls quite a bit. Hey, I'm in this situation. I need some help. Believe it or not, from other brokers, agents that are calling us. So you're starting to get into situations in a transaction or that folks haven't seen before,
Yeah.
right? Hey, we're behind, we're closing late because of a home inspection problem, or what do I do this? How do I communicate with my client? Because I think, to Quinton's point, everything has been so fast-paced in our industry. Some of these, how do you deal with these things that pop up in a challenging market? Nobody has the skill set for it. So hats off to KWA, and what we're doing here is we're upping our classes and upping our one-on-one conversations with the agents to help them through this. I'm starting to get land conversations, which I've never got before, on how do I manage a land transaction. I've never done a land transaction before. How do I write a land contract? Stuff like that. You're going to start seeing, and I think brokerages that are going to be the most successful here moving forward as things balance out is the ones that really conquered this education thing. And I've found you can't globally just say, okay, this cup of coffee is made a certain way. Well, maybe not. It takes different ways to skin the cat on it. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot of education pop up. But to Jerry's point, I'll bet you you're going to see a carving off of Realtors
Substantial.
when it comes in there.
I think not, and just
You're never going to pronounce that right, are you?
I know that.
I think
Okay.
I think it's going to be
Never.
individuals and
I try though, I really do.
peripheral brokerages as well. Time will tell on that. Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just a let's face it. I'm of the opinion we're in a recession already. We're definitely coming that way, right? And it's this time next year or the beginning of next year, it's going to be very different than what it is now. The overall economy, in my opinion.
Jennifer's watching in Short Pump, and she says she works in real estate, but does not say specifically where.
Okay.
This is a good follow-up question for you guys. What needs to brighten the market, rates, inflation, fuel, I mean, what data points or what concerning trends need to get more positive for things to stabilize out there? What's the first thing you're following? It's got to be inflation, right? I mean,
Well,
inflation's dictating everything.
So I went back and looked at shows that we did in October, November, and December, and we predicted inflation is going to be the key thing here. So I think inflation will be when you start having a 40-year rate of inflation, it's just going to have a huge impact across the board. Not end of it. What do you think, Quinton?
I don't think there's any one thing. I think it's a chain, and you have to go in steps. So, what is the biggest thing driving inflation right now?
I'd say probably labor or supply chain issues.
So the two biggest things driving is there's still a lot of money chasing not enough goods.
That's exactly right.
And there's not enough goods because their supply chain is
Yeah,
messed up.
correct.
So the first thing you need to see happen is goods to become more readily available. If you don't believe there's a supply chain issue, go try to buy baby formula.
Yeah, big time supply chain.
So there's supply chain
Don't try
issues.
to buy bread.
And so until that lessens up, you're not going to see that happen. We've got good unemployment, but we don't necessarily have the best wages. Hopefully those will start to level out. But you just sort of have to watch each step as it goes. And so I think our first one is definitely supply and seeing that move up.
Keith has said in previous shows that he thinks the rents will appreciate or increase at a greater clip than home ownership apprieciation. Are you still buying that?
Absolutely. So if I had the time this morning, which I ran out today, I wanted to take whatever the medium sales price is right now, and if you were to buy a house right now at $300,000 or $350,000 or $250,000, whatever that number is, right, with a simple 3 to 4% appreciation year over year, what is your home worth in 10 years? What is your home worth in 5 years? And well, I'll do a little bit of homework. That's part of what I want to talk to Scott about on Wednesday, because even this conversation we're having right now, and I've been saying this repetitively, the hedge against this inflation conversation, buy a house, right? It's the number one hedge against inflation. Now, that's not going to change your gas. It's not going to change the food. But in my opinion, it's just too much cash chasing too few goods, too many buyers, too many tenants chasing not enough homes, not enough rental units. Now, I think eventually what might happen as we get at balance or starts changing a little bit, some of these rental units will come on the market, right? And that might change the dynamic a little bit. But, you know,
And I think when you look at housing as a whole, when there's not enough doors for people to walk through and have a place to live, all the pricing goes up. So it doesn't matter whether you're renting or buying, there's not enough places for people to live. And rent has appreciated at a huge clip over the last 3 years for all the same reasons housing has. And we've just underbuilt for too long, and it's gone on for too long, and you have a generation bigger than the population of Canada ready to buy houses and trying to get into homes.
Millennials.
So when you think about that, part of why I'm such a proponent of home ownership, even at a 9% mortgage, is because if you plan on staying there for 5 years, what are you going to rent that's not going to go up so much that your total cost of home ownership, or let's say housing, let me change that, is not worse renting than it is living.
So I just
And then you have an opportunity to get something on the other end.
Right.
Because even if it's a wash, it's money well spent,
you're headed
but it's probably not a wash.
So I just pulled apartments.com just for the heck of it, Lake Monticello, just because that's where I live. I know it well and all this stuff. So on apartment.com, there are 7 available rental homes. That doesn't mean there's other sources to go ahead and get it. The cheapest is $1,700. Between $1,700 and
What's 1,700? 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
it's hold on a second, I'll tell you. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square feet.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's in Lake Monticello. Oh, by the way,
You got 1950 at the Villas at Southern Ridge for 3-bedroom, 2-bath with an office,
But-
1,300 square feet.
but as to Quinton's point here, I'm reading through it real quick. You have 1 month security, first and last month. So you got to write that check 3 times
Yeah.
on that end of it. So whoever's smart enough can time that.
So what is that, $5,100?
50
$5,100.
$5,100.
1,700 times 3.
You're paying a rental fee. A tenant pays all the utilities. There's a tenant fee for Lake Monticello that you
Well,
have to pay.
a lot of, so we just did this. You have an application fee a tenant has. The tenant is going to have to pay an upfront fee to Dominion, upfront fee to Comcast to activate everything.
Yep.
Security deposits for theirs.
Yep.
Then it's first month's rent. He's saying last month's rent plus security deposit.
That's what I'm reading right here.
You're like $6,000, $7,000 there.
Yeah.
And whatever you're paying this year is less than what you're going to pay next year, which is less than what you're going to pay the year after that.
Right, right. It's insanity. It's insanity. And the insanity, and we're empathetic for the plight of tenants right now. And the tenant's rent is going to, at minimum, probably, I don't want to say speak with definites here, but could go up 5% or more the following year.
They're projecting more than that.
Yeah.
Everything I'm reading is double digits increase. Because if you don't buy that home, if you don't take that $6,000, and I can't look off, I don't have the data real quickly on what's available at Lake Monticello, but let's assume you can buy a $300,000 house and you're putting 3% down. That's not $6,000, it's $9,000, but it's close. And now since there is this re-looking at seller concessions. So what that is, folks, that the seller is paying for closing costs, and you can get into some of these FHA or some of these first-time home buyer loans with only 3% down. Why wouldn't you buy, right? But people just are not at that comfort level.
Well, it's not just the comfort level. It's also that the inventory doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The inventory.
It's also the inventory issue.
It's not there for them to buy. And if they've tried to buy, maybe they've struck out. Vincent Agnello, am I saying his last name right? lives in Boulder, Colorado. Need to get rid of institutional investors out of the housing market. They are artificially increasing prices across home ownership and rentals. Vincent, I'll say this, the experts are Quinton and Keith. I will say this with our specific market, we're not seeing a ton of institutional investors buying real estate in the market we're currently in. We know that's a phenomenon nationally, that hedge funds are buying housing, but it's not happening in the market that we're currently broadcasting within.
Well, there's a lot of real estate investment trusts, so REITs have soaked up a lot of that ownership, but it's been a transfer of one kind of investor owning the home to another.
That's why I always start with local, right? So local is you don't see that. You see that out in Phoenix and all this area. Just to put a quick perspective to it, Charlottesville, a single-family detached home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, same square footage, is on the market on a rental for $2,700. So just to put it in a little bit of perspective.
Is that the number one, the top rental option?
No, I just picked what popped up on the phone real quick. It's actually right across from it's on.
You got 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, currently renting right now in Glenmore for $3,750 a month.
Yeah.
$3,750.
I mean, I think if you're just
That's
sitting
a
there,
lot.
if you're just sitting there and you're a younger family wanting to decide whether or not to buy, look at the home you would rent, figure out what that rent looks like, picture the home you could find yourself purchasing, and figure out that mortgage payment. See what you can get for the same payment as what you would pay in rent, because that payment will stick around for forever.
Well, not forever, for 30 years, hopefully.
For 30 years or 7, because ARMs are starting to become something that's more viable, especially if you're not planning on living on the home for forever.
How do you feel about them?
How do I feel about that?
ARMs.
After learning more about the ARMs, I'm not minding the ARMs so much. There's a purpose for the ARMs.
7 and 10 I like. 1 to 3 not so much.
I like the 710s.
Yeah.
Because if it's 5 years, also how we live in homes has changed,
Correct.
much like how we keep jobs has changed. Most people don't work for the same company for 50 years and retire with a pension. Most people don't live in their homes for 30 years. They don't buy a home planning to pay it off. So I think if you think of the home like you're leasing a car, then a 7-year ARM is very reasonable. It'll also help dictate what sorts of investments you make into that house, and it'll make it a good investment to keep you out of the rent trap for that 5-year time.
Well, and within 7 years is long enough that it'll give you time to refi. If rates drop again, you can refi.
If rates drop.
Yeah, that's a big if.
You don't think rates are going to drop?
Look, they're not going. We talked about this for years on the show. My biggest fear was everybody thought 3% was normal.
Sure.
And that's ingrained in people's minds. 3% is not normal. Normal is the 4 to 5 to 6%. That's the median average over quite some time. So we're kind of at where that is right now. Everybody's shocked about it because it's 2 or 3 points higher than it was a couple of months ago. So it was a little bit too fast, right? It was a quick uptick in percentages, but that's kind of the normal. When you bought your first home, wasn't that around the normal?
Villas at Southern Ridge, which is a rental now, 6 1/8.
Yeah.
6
Because
1/8.
I think if you looked at mortgage rates as a median over 20 years, you're looking at 7-8%.
Yeah. So
I'm not suggesting I want it to go there, but I think we should not behave as though that's the end of the world.
if they do the 3/4, right?
75 basis points. Victoria Vanderveen watching the program,
Hey,
giving the
Victoria.
show some props right now. Folks in 4
There's
states
a
and
name.
2 countries watching the show as we speak. Do you think that the back half of this year is going to be any better than the first 6 months? The first 6 months have been pretty tough, man.
So
No, I think the last 6 are going to be worse.
You think the next 6 are going to be worse? I
No.
appreciate that
the
honesty.
overall economy or real estate?
I'm just talking about the
All
overall
of the
economy.
above?
All of the
Well-
above. I think the last 6 are going to be worse. You still have a lot of cash sitting out there that people left sitting aside, and now they're just deciding how to spend it. And they thought they were going to go out to eat more, or go to movies, or do whatever, and now they're putting it into their gas tank. Now they're putting it into groceries. And so I do think as that runs out, I'm curious to see what happens.
So
Katie
you-
Pearl giving you boys props.
Hey, Katie. You just did an event in Virginia Beach, right?
I did.
Was it
Well,
packed?
Yeah, we had 200.
No. I meant the beach was packed, the hotels were packed.
Yancey says amen, Quinton.
It was busy.
Yeah.
Yes, it was busy.
Seemed normal, like a normal July down in Virginia Beach.
Seemed like a normal July.
June. Today's June. No, it's June.
Seemed like a normal June.
I mean,
I don't know what's normal in Virginia Beach. I'm not there a whole lot.
The tough part over the last 3 years, summertime. Let's take the last 3 years. The last 3 Junes. 3 Junes ago, it was the uncertainty of COVID. 2 Junes ago, it was the uncertainty of like Omicron or whatever variant was at. Now this June, it's the uncertainty of the dollar in our pocket not going that far over summer. And it's tempering enthusiasm.
So do you know what Yona's read on why we're 105 on the market now and 119? We talked about this on the way in because she said, what are you going to talk about today?
Yona's take on why inventory is
lower.
Is low.
Is
What
a
is
little
her
bit
take?
lower. She feels, and we've talked about this before, she feels that the summer market is coming earlier, right? So that, the spring market came early.
Like the wildfires in California?
Like the
just sooner and sooner?
She's saying
That's
this is a
ridiculous.
result of people
No,
quarantining during COVID and now wanting to get on vacation.
No, well, correct. So people are just saying, I'm out. Not this weekend, but the weekend before, we went up to go visit our grandchildren. I talked about it last Monday. It took us hours longer than normally because it was pure volume. Everybody was on the road. Everybody was going and traveling this. Our daughter couldn't make it from Seattle to visit us in Connecticut. Well, it was mainly because they couldn't get the pilots to show because they didn't have enough pilots to fly the plane. But the airports are jammed with people. And what her theory is everybody is kind of getting out. You've coined this a long time ago, that when COVID, I don't want to use the word over because it's not
It's going to
over.
be a boom town.
That it's kind of like the 20s, people just going out spending money. Eventually, that's all going to go away, and then that's what I'm worried about is hitting the brakes. So
Well, I think that's happening. We talked about this last week on these shows. Credit card balance, credit card debt is at an American high right now.
it's going to get worse.
We're at an American all-time high for credit card debt.
As I said last Monday, when I stopped at, which he doesn't have to deal with because he charges, but when I stopped at the gas station, everybody was,
We're at an all-time high for credit card debt.
Yeah.
An all-time high for gasoline prices per gallon. We're at a 40-year high for CPI right now.
And it's gonna
40-year.
go up.
We're at a 22-year low for mortgage demand. 22-year low right now. We are. What are the other data points that I'm missing here? There's a freaking war going on.
But to
It's not as bad if you do inflation adjusted, so let's remember that.
But to Quinton's point, we had a drop. Now this is 1 week snapshots. So the actual solds are lagging about 30 to 60 days behind. But we're really not that far off. So I'd really be interested when we have this show a month from now and take a look at what that next weekly snapshot is a month from now. And we will continue to do this. I take a screenshot every Monday of it, and I've saved it since the beginning of the year. It's not technical or it's not official.
Month of now is mid-July. By Yona's take, it would still be low.
Yeah, and I don't, I'm a smart guy. I don't disagree with Yona. So
I wouldn't disagree with her either.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of people traveling. I think you're going to see in July people coming back up. I know Yona and I are having conversations with people that want to list their homes, but they're out on vacation. They want to come back. They're out at the beach with the kids or whatever it is. So I think you'll see some balancing because of that. I may be wrong, but that seems to be the read that she has.
You agree, QB?
I do, and I think that in terms of people that live around here within the car footprint, the trick is to make a plan. The feds are going to keep boosting interest rates to sort of cool off impulsivity and to slow down the amount of money chasing limited number of goods. And I think for you, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what your income and what your needs are, the real need is to make a plan for what's the next 3 to 5 years look like. What do I need to do so that I weather it well and I come through positive at the other end? And that may not be the house you dreamt of. It may instead be the house you need. And so just sit down and have a really good budget, have a really good conversation with a trusted professional that can help guide you through that process for the next 3 to 5 years. Much like we talked about what's going to help the economy, it's no one thing, it's a step of things. How you get from where you are now to the next place in your life is no one thing, it's a step of things. And so you have to decide, what's that first step? Where am I going? What's best for me and my family?
Pay off your high interest rate debt, please, dear God. That's the first step you should be doing.
Yeah, so, one of the blessings of living through the time of great unpleasantness, and one of the blessings of, as everybody watches the snow, we lost everything we had a couple of times, particularly during the time of great unpleasantness. We never have credit card debt.
Yeah.
We do everything, and that was the comment I was making. I'm ripping out my debit card to pay for gas. To me, that's the same as cash, right?
That is the same as cash. Yeah, that's
Thank
the
you.
exact
Thank
same
you
as
for
cash.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. But it's the same as cash. But when you're starting to put these, paying for $5 worth of gasoline on a credit card that's 20%, 18%.
Katie Pearl, my father-in-law was a Delta pilot for 30 plus years, and Delta incentivized him and tons of other seasoned pilots to retire early during COVID, and now they are radically understaffed for pilots.
Surprising.
Expect more flight delays and cancellations.
Talk about costs going up, right? Flights. I wouldn't be surprised if the father-in-law gets a ring that says, "Hey, can you come back to work?"
Kevin Yancey says, and he's watching at Smith Mountain Lake, if I don't
Good for
have
him.
cash, I don't buy it.
Well, I mean, you need,
Ooh, Quinton Beckham is being quite versatile here. He's having conversations in the comments section
Ooh.
while doing the talk show. Not trying to promote any particular persona, QB says in the comment section. But I met Camille Anderson and Justin Anderson and became over a really good conversation at a bar one night years ago. Was this a Tavola?
And I've
Tavola?
loved them ever
Tavola?
since. No. This was at 3 Penny, back when 3 Penny was where Little Star was.
Oh, God.
3 Penny Cafe was great.
So
my wife and I, our first date was
It
at
was-
3 Penny Cafe.
It was me and them and Evan Hansen, and we had like this 2.5 hour, shut the place down, really awesome, fun conversation.
Let's play a trivia game real quick. How many brands or restaurants can you name that have operated in that location on West Main Street?
Oh, no, I don't want to do that.
In the 3 Penny location.
3 Penny Cafe?
Since it was converted from.
It'll
Before
make me-
or after?
It makes me sad thinking of all the restaurants that have closed over the last 2 years.
Can you name any, Keith Smith?
Oh, God, what was it? 3 Penny.
First, before it was 3 Penny, it was the station.
The station, I
It
remember
was a
that.
gas station at one time. It was Zinc,
Zinc, that's the one I was just
3
thinking.
Penny Cafe.
But right now
Little
it's.
Star.
And Little Star's, I think, has been staying in there the longest, right?
The station was in there quite long. Little Star is owned by the across the street guys. Small Plates restaurant attached to Public. You know what I'm talking about, QB?
Oh, do.
I'm drawing a blank on the name. Who's going to
Oak
help me
Heart
out with
Social?
this? Oak Heart
Oak Heart
Social.
Social.
Quinton Beckham. So Little Star is the current location now. It's on West Main Street for those that are asking as we speak. You need to take Yona there for dinner, please.
We've been there multiple times. I'll tell you, it brings up.
We tried to go there for a drink one day and they were closed.
We tried to go there.
Bad
Was it on
timing.
Monday?
It was the Monday after Alumni Weekend.
Yeah.
Was it a Monday or no? It was a Tuesday. After.
Was it a Tuesday?
It was a Tuesday. I was surprised. that
We
they-
ended up someplace that I don't want to go back to.
Yeah. We
I won't ask which one that was.
We
No.
won't talk
Because
about
I know
it.
you too well. You would never say the name.
I would
won't-
never
we
say it.
won't
I just
talk
have my
about
own
it.
quirks and I just need to keep them to myself.
So, your top places to go out to eat. The reason I bring it up is I'm asked that question more.
What? Where do you go to eat?
Where can I go to eat? Then,
Don't say interest rates.
I swear to God, I do.
No.
I swear to God. Nobody really. I have to tell you, I very rarely get asked about interest rates.
Do you get asked about rates?
I get
I get asked about everything,
I get asked,
including things that I can't say on air, even in this media.
even in this no FCC rules media.
Even in this no FCC
It's
media.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
I'm asked more where, right? People buy homes for the most part by how much they can afford. How much can I afford? Now rates impact that, right? What my monthly rate's going to be, what the monthly my monthly nut's going to be versus mortgage rates does matter, also versus price. But I think everybody's accepted, at least the people I'm talking to, that rates are going up, right? And what they're doing is they're bringing more cash to the table, the ones that can do it. The problem is the ones that can't do it, right? That's the struggle, right? The ones that can't do that, and then they're stuck. They're paying $2,400 for a 3-bedroom or whatever number was.
It's always an incomplete sentence when you just say mortgage rates are going up. The full sentence is mortgage rates and rents are going up.
That's right.
And so you have to make a decision in light of the full sentence and not the partial. Everything that gets all the hype is not necessarily the thing that matters to you.
So
and so you need to have that full discussion. And again, make a plan. That's how people survive and thrive in these, because it's not impossible for most of America. It is possible if you avoid impulsivity.
Nicely done. Keith?
Well, I'm not going to get into this document because it's 35 pages long, but
Multiple people have put on the feed. It looks like Keith has killed a lot of trees.
I killed a lot of trees.
Isn't it cute how he's so old-fashioned? He carries paper everywhere.
He has paper. We're computer guys over here. What were you going to say, Keith, there?
I'm sorry, but I'm a paper guy. I got to read. I got to have it in front of me.
If you could see how big the
There's
print
a lot
is.
of paper here. Studio camera to see the paper.
The studio camera?
We're showing the paper right now. Judah's with the studio camera.
Yeah, well, thanks, Judah. Thanks, buddy. I can't see past this. Look, I was just going to make a comment, and we'll save this for a different show. For those who do not know, UVA released its RFQ on its affordable housing initiative, and it's 35 pages long. So those who know, RFQ stands for Request for Qualifications. This is not even the proposal, and we're going to dig into that in a future show. But yeah, not with Quinton on. But
you should get Michael Payne on the show for that one.
Yeah.
Because Michael Payne is really
Michael Payne and I
to UVA over this project.
We've spoken about this already. Interesting fact about this. You may know this, but the West Main Street parcel that was in UVA's ownership got switched over to the foundation. So the foundation now.
Which one?
It was it's the one across from the hotel on West Main. You'd have to hold on a second here. Wirtland and 10th, on the corner of Wirtland and 10th. So it's on West 110 Wirtland Street and 120 West Main Street. So it's right across from, what's the hotel there on West Main Street? Draftsman, right? It's right across from the Draftsman Hotel. They actually took that out of.
You're not talking about Stacy Hall, are you?
Yeah, Stacy Hall. That's exactly.
I think it was where the old Balkan Bistro used to be.
No. This is Stacy Hall.
Yeah, the restaurant used to be there.
I did not know that.
Balkan Bistro.
Yeah.
So that's now owned by the foundation.
That's owned by the foundation, and it's interesting. That's the only parcel, with the Michael Payne comment, that's the only parcel that the city would have any influence on. Everything else is in Albemarle County. So, but anyway, I'm working on a show with Michael Payne and maybe Ned Galloway to talk about.
That's a great one.
To talk about this. So that's on my radar for preparation.
I love it. Quinton Beckham, final word for your viewers and listeners and all your adoring fans watching the program right now.
Adoring fans. One, get out once in a while, go to a restaurant, have a drink and a snack. Two, don't be overwhelmed by this. This is the world shifting from one thing that was really difficult to wrap your head around to a different thing that's really difficult. It's totally possible. Make a plan. If you need help, reach out to somebody you trust. Reach out to me, reach out to Keith. I'll refer you to somebody smarter than me.
And I'll refer you to Yona?
Keith will refer you to Yona and Quinton.
Because
Yona will refer you to somebody else.
The important part is to make a plan and not let things happen to you. Just remember you have a lot more control than you think you do.
So for those who's watching who's in the real estate space, Realtors, this coming recession is going to impact a lot of folks. It's going to have an impact on us. We're going to feel it, but it's not going to be anything like the time of great unpleasantness. The people that I really feel for is the restaurant business.
Yeah, definitely.
They got hit with COVID, right? Now they can't hire nobody.
Restaurant, events, and hospitality. Anyone that's right on the living wage or minimum wage that's relying on team members to staff their businesses around living or minimum wage are getting ravaged right now.
And inflation going up, and I don't even want to say what's on my mind, but we're going to be higher than where we are by the end of the year, without a doubt, if not close to a double-digit number. People are walking out, they're going out to eat. So when we went on Friday to Tovola, Yon and I, at the end of the day, and we treat to ourselves, I was talking to the bartender, I said, how's business, how's things going, right? He says, we're busy, but we're not seeing the same regulars every week, right? People that would come twice a week are now coming every other week. People that would come every other week are now coming every month or whatever it is, because that's, when you're starting to take a hit on your dollar is only worth 80 cents now.
Yeah, that's the first thing you cut.
That's the first thing you start doing. So to Quinton's point, I know it's going to be easy to do that, but please go out and support these folks. Be a little patient. It might take you a little bit longer to get your meal. It might take you a little bit longer to get a seat down, but please support them, because they've been hit pretty hard consistently.
Well said, Keith Smith. Keith Smith and Quinton Beckham, 2 A+ people. You guys did well today.
Yeah.
Sharp shirt.
Thank you. I love the logo, right?
Yeah, it's a very nice logo. Yes, Realty Partners.
Yeah.
I think that spot fits. That spot
No,
seems to suit
I do not
you.
like this spot. I do not like this spot.
So you're just going to punish other people with
I'm
it?
going to totally punish other people. To Jerry's point, I like to stay in my comfort zone, and this
He doesn't like change, that man.
It's not. It's
changed.
It's changed.
It's changed.
So the reality of it is, Jerry, I'm not sitting there staring at your handsome, gorgeous face. That's why.
Thank you for saying that. You got Scott Morris Wednesday?
Scott Morris Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday, Scott Morris is back in the mix, guys.
We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of this stuff and get him to run some numbers for us.
You gentlemen do fantastic work together. Seriously, I very
Thank you.
much enjoy when you guys come on the show. And this comment was just left. The station, Zinc, used to be a car dealership at one time.
Well, that's
on West Main Street.
It was
It was so many things.
Was
It
it
was-
a
it
car
was
dealership
lots.
or was it a service station?
Both.
Really? I did not know that.
This
Wow.
used to be a car dealership.
This building.
Macklin Auto.
Yeah.
This was the bay where the cars would come in out of this courtyard.
Oh, wow.
They'd come out the back alley.
Wow.
Judah Whitcower is our director. Quinton Beckham, Keith Smith,
So a shout out for Friday.
Friday show.
Friday show is we're doing a Father's Day special.
Ooh, Pop in the mix. Kerry
gonna-
Rock in the mix.
We're going to have my father sitting in one of these chairs and Kerry Rock sitting in it. We're going to talk about Father's Day from the perspective of kind of three different generations or 4 different generations. And it was interesting. I had a conversation with my pop yesterday, and either I was told this and never registered or whatever, but when my grandfather, my father's father, went off to World War II, he was 3 years old. He did not see him again until he was almost 7 on that. And that's just kind of a different perspective that he's going to bring to the table on
Father's
that.
Day special on Friday.
We're looking forward to it.
All the shows are archived on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. The I Love CVille show is up in 55 minutes. The Monday edition of Real Talk presented by Yes Realty Partners, Keller Williams Alliance, KWA, and Yes Realty Partners, an absolute trusted name in the game. Thank you kindly for joining us, guys, on Real Talk. Join us in 55 minutes for the I Love CVille show. Take care. Well done. Bravo. Bravo. Excellent.